going on, everyone? I am back and I got a new engine. You know, I've been wanting a 500 or 550 Mercedes for a very long time. And in fact, it started when I was searching for a W211, an E500, a 4MATIC, something that I could daily drive and not really have to worry all that much about. However, one day, as I'm searching online, as we all do, and looking for cars that we never will buy, I stumbled across this beautiful, one-owner, old man-owned E550, and it was a slightly newer variant with the older exterior. It's got the updated interior with the color NTG 4.5 system, and of course, that beautiful power plant underneath the hood. Beautiful is definitely subjective. It's definitely a little bit bittersweet. But when I found this vehicle, I absolutely had to jump on it, and within a weekend, I was able to take it home. And this vehicle had a beautiful service history. It was serviced at Mercedes in New Jersey and in New York as the owner traveled around. It ended up landing in Connecticut for the second owner, who specifically bought this car for its options. But of course, with these W212s, the main issue resides with the engine. And at 108,000 miles when I bought it, it was running great. I got a very rudimentary PPI and I called it a day. Thinking back on it, I don't think I could have convinced myself anything different, but that probably wasn't the best way to go about it. So I started my ownership at 108,000 miles, immediately spent $1,400 on a tune from Eurocharge Boston, a stage 1 tune, and subsequently destroyed my drive shaft, which needed to be replaced soon afterwards. So right off the rip, I'm spending almost $3,000 out of pocket. And if you see my other video, you know that 6-month period costed me right around $10,000 in repairs and maintenance. Now, this was my first German car and first tunable car, which was the whole reason why I got this engine in the first place. So I wanted to do everything by the books, and in my eyes, better than what the books called for. That means oil changes every 4,000 miles. I got the differentials, the transmission serviced, all the mounts were replaced except for the engine mounts, which were just done with the engine replacement because it's a fucking nightmare to get in there. I even started putting brand new suspension on this thing. I mean, this thing got the works. However, these guys have some inherent issues. Now, this generation was one of the first that AMG actually didn't have full hands-on with the engine, and it's actually an updated version or a modified version of the M278. So the M157 that you see in the E63S and the E63s from 2012 on, it's based off of this guy. In previous years, like the M113 and the M113K, those were hand-built specific engines. Even the 6.2, the M156, was a hand-built engine specifically for these vehicles. Now, in fact, both of those engines come from the previous generation M273 design. The M273 came in 4.6 and 5.5 liters respectively, 5.5 being more common on the 500s obviously, and the 4.6 you'll see in some of the SUVs. And these engines actually share lineage with that as well. So while this is a fantastic motor, it's incredibly efficient and makes a whole bunch of power, in its core, literally, it's not designed for the boost that it was really given, especially with the intervals and service intervals that are given on paper in terms of 10,000 mile oil changes. Now, this engine doesn't have forged internals like the AMG. It doesn't have forged pistons. It doesn't have extra cooling and default split cooling like the M157s do. Later M278s were a lot better, but the hardened internals of the M157 negated a lot of problems that these engines start to have. In fact, most of the issues that you see with these motors can be shared across these two platforms, and they actually share a whole bunch of parts as well. So while the AMG gets off scot-free when in terms of bending rods because of boost over time, blow-by because of the hardened and better quality piston rings, the M278 unfortunately is victim to all of those. In fact, some of the most common issues that they share are on the top end. You see, for the first couple of years of the bi-turbo motors, Mercedes had some issues with material hardness and material science. In fact, their camshafts were kind of too soft for the job. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened in my engine. And it is sort of a common problem. And if you catch it, you could easily replace a couple camshafts and be on your way and be good for, you know, the foreseeable future. But without any real difference in drivability, it's very hard to pinpoint when that starts to happen, other than miles and just popping that valve cover off at 80 to 100,000 miles and checking how things are. And unfortunately, at 108,000 miles, that really wasn't on my radar and I didn't bother to check. So over 30,000 miles using Mobil 1 0W40, which I've now learned is really not the best oil, even though it's in Mercedes spec, as well as not having the check valve installed for the majority of its life, really starved that top end of oil, caused massive scoring, caused massive damage to the camshafts, chunks taken out of the camshafts, and the journals in which it sit were absolutely destroyed. And the result of this was metal flowing around my engine in the oil for the better part of 4,000 to 6,000 miles as I was trying to get this diagnosed. In fact, I went to 4 4 shops, and I detailed that in my last video. I went to 4 different shops around my area in Connecticut, and none of them would even want to touch it. And one of them that I was very trustworthy with before, they just didn't want to jump into it. And if they did, they were requiring a full engine out just to see what was wrong, and instead of popping the valve covers and kind of going from there. But I finally landed on another shop, German Auto LLC. They've been fantastic. I dropped my car off late March. I finally got it back now, so it's right around 10 weeks total time, but they were able to diagnose and figure out exactly what was wrong. But I had no engine lights or no other codes that would point to anything specific, so I'm glad that they were able to finally pop those off and detect the issue. Now the problem is that we found tons of metal in the oil and tons of metal in the filter. This of course puts the whole engine in question mark, and when you have 140,000 miles on this car with low compression on cylinder 8 and cylinder 5, which are known issues and kind of unavoidable in these cars after a while, was it really worth it to fix it? Now, what we could have done and what we looked at was replacing all 4 camshafts, all 4 cam gears, which were the originals but didn't seem to have any issues yet, and replace all the lifters on both sides and see if that fixes the problem. However, we weren't sure if that would actually fix the ticking. And if I were to go the repair route, to be honest with you, I would have just repaired it so it didn't make a sound, and I would have traded it in, got my money, called it a day. Unfortunately, that repair was prohibitively expensive to go that route. We're looking at almost $1,000 a piece for OEM camshafts, which will end up having the same issue. Replacing everything on the top end that I listed would have cost close to $10,000 to $11,000. So at 140,000 miles, it really wasn't worth putting that much money into it. And the rest of the vehicle has been fantastic and is in great shape. Like I said, I've replaced the full driveline, done full services, resealed the diffs, transmission's in fantastic shape. There's not a drop leaking anywhere. So if I were to fix the engine, put all that money into it, I might have a car that's still worth $8,000, but still makes a ticking sound, and I just potentially put $10,000 to $15,000 into it. It just didn't make sense. So I took the next logical step and just removed the problem entirely. I replaced the engine. A new engine was close to $35,000 on its own, so that was not an option, but we were able to find a used one with right around 40,000 miles in perfectly good health. No compression issues, no scoring, for right around $13,500. Of course, the entire repair costed close to $25,000. To replace this engine completely and its components, that's turbos, all accessories, were all brand new off of that new engine, or off the used engine. And guys, that is a ridiculous figure. And I'd be lying if I said I came out of pocket entirely to do that, because that right there just doesn't make any fucking sense in any sort of the mean. If this was an AMG, I could kind of see that, as it's a special car with a special transmission and it has different driving dynamics, whole different character. But as an E550, it's kind of just a big old fast E350. So most people would probably be losing their mind. It would probably just take the bullet and swallow the loss. But that's not what we do around here now, is it? So after 10 weeks and a full replacement of the engine, it looks like nothing has been done. And I guess that's kind of good, because they do very quality work. German Auto LLC is definitely not the cheapest shop you want to go to, but I wasn't looking for the cheapest shop. I was looking for a shop that knew what they were doing, and they have impressed me from start to finish. They really have. I've taken it on some back roads. I've done some pulls with it. Of course, it is retuned. I actually got a secondary tune from Eurocharge to help with some rev hang and things like that. So now this thing is running at peak performance, as it properly should be. So when I say I didn't pay for the entire thing myself, is what I mean is I had a warranty. So what this repair entirely consisted of was right around $13,500 for the engine. We had around $2,000 in various components. That's including around $750 for new engine mounts, various seals, gaskets, things like that, including drive shaft, differential work, differential seals, things of that nature. And the shop did make some money off of the parts themselves, and that's completely okay. I have no problem with them making a little bit of money, and a few $100s here or there isn't gonna make a big difference to me at the end of the day anyways, after we're already spending, 25 grand out the door. Now, to be transparent, that warranty did actually pay out just over $10,000, $10,180. I paid around $2,800 for the warranty. meaning with all the repairs it's done, it's paid over itself nearly 5 times. Right around $14,700 was paid out over the course of this warranty, which just ended by mileage, which is a pretty good deal when you think about it. So let's do the math. I paid for this car around $15,500 private party in the beginning of 2021. I bought a $2,800 warranty with it. I spent $1,400 on a tune almost immediately in some revisions for that tune, right around $8,500 in various other repairs. Again, check that 6-month video so you can detail everything that I did thus far. Plus this $24,500 repair means I had a total warranty payout of $14,720, and that means that I am just in this car for a little over $37,000. Holy shit. When you fucking say it like that, I didn't even think that. The fact is, I could find a facelift 550 right now, 4MATIC, with similar options for right around $30,000 to $32,000, with right around 40,000 miles on it. And seeing as though that's the closest thing to this, while being a pre-facelift, in that car would probably be around 35 to 37 out the door. I'm not too far behind the game, I don't think. Of course, the entire body has 140,000 miles on it, but it doesn't show its age at all, and these W212s really don't show their age. Plus, with how fun this car is to drive and how engaging it is and how enjoyable it is to drive to work or just do mundane errands in this thing, it's completely worth it. And it's something that I am definitely now going to hold on for the foreseeable future. And I kind of get a restart and get to relive this motor and make sure it gets the best service possible. No expense spared, as if I've been sparing expenses this far. Holy fuck. So anyways, guys, that was just a quick update on what the fuck I've been going through for the last 10 weeks and the financial burden that I've put on myself yet again. But it's been an enjoyable experience with German Auto. I can't ask for much more than that. And now that we have crossed the finish line, I am thoroughly enjoying the car again. And I actually just met up with one of the brothers from Connecticut in the W212 group. If you are in Connecticut and have a W212, join the group, link up. We'll go on a cruise or somewhere sometime. But like I said, it's been a great experience. I'm enjoying the car. I love it. I don't have to worry about it anymore, but I know how fragile it can be, so I'm still trying to take it pretty easy. Anyways, what else is going on? I did also buy a $350 Chinese Alibaba Express Apple CarPlay 10-inch screen that everyone told me not to buy, and I kind of understand why. It's been about 2 days since I had it, so I'm going to be making a video review on those systems. They're pretty much a dime a dozen. All of them are basically the same. But anyways, thank you guys so much for the support. I appreciate you subscribing and liking and commenting and waiting for my next videos. I know my output isn't crazy high. I try to do one every 2 weeks. It ends up being once a month, but I got a super busy schedule and I'm just trying to get back into the groove with this. I got the car, I got some ideas. I want to actually execute these, so help me with a comment, with a like, with a subscribe. Share it around, share this ridiculous video in my ridiculous playlist of this ridiculous life that I'm trying to live right now. And maybe it'll make it a little bit easier in the future so I can do even dumber stuff and spend even more dumb money and have a whole bunch of fun. And you can live vicariously through me and not have to bear any of the responsibility. And I think that's a pretty good trade-off. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. I'll see your faces in the next one. We'll see you next time. Boom, ba-da, boom, ba-da, boom, boom.